Welcome to Caught Offside TV, a production by the Transfer Exchange Show. I'm your host, Kieran Stewart, and we've got a quality show for you in store today. I'm joined by a presenter and reporter for the Premier League and Chelsea. It's Olivia Buzaglo. How you doing, Olivia?
Yeah, I mean, it's been a manic few days, hasn't it? As always when you support Chelsea, but I'm good.
Yeah, it has been, mate. We've got plenty to talk about as well. And I'm also joined by a presenter, YouTuber, and producer. It's Louis Beneventi. How you doing, Louis?
I'm not bad, mate. I'm not too bad. Yourself?
I'm good. So let's get this started. All right. As it stands today, Chelsea are operating under restrictions due to a growing number of sanctions imposed on owner Roman Abramovich, which restrict the club from generating any new revenue. Olivia, what was your reaction when you first heard the news about this?
Worry, because I'm not a huge political person. I mean, that's an understatement, like massive. Politics and me and football, I just don't think should ever mix. And obviously that was a UK government decision. I didn't really at the time know what it meant. Obviously that then led to uncertainty with knowing what was going to happen to our football club. I'd already, obviously we knew Abramovich was going to sell the club. And sort of I said my thanks then, because I feel like every Chelsea fan is in their right to say thank you for Roman Abramovich for what he's done for the club over the 20 years. But this obviously then I think sort of had to be put to one side, and then sort of trying to understand what it all meant and what was going to happen going forward was the hard part. And still, to be honest, right now, it's difficult to even know what's true, what's not, and what's happening. I'm sort of, as worried as I was when the news came out. I mean, I think it will be sorted, but it's the not knowing, I think, that was the hard part.
Yeah. Lou, what's your first thoughts when you heard the news, and what's your feeling now? Have you sort of got to grips with the situation more?
I mean, I think from a political standpoint, I'm the exact opposite of Olivia. I'm very much sort of there's nuances and stuff within it where I'm there like, okay, well, politics are always going to get involved at some point. And as soon as all this stuff started happening and there was talk of sanctions, and as when I've got it, I was like, okay, it's only a matter of time. I'm kind of at peace with the whole process because it's not in our control. I'm kind of sitting there going, well, let's just see what happens. I've got who I'd love to see in my head, but we don't know what's going on. So for me, I think, look, everything that's happened with Roman, again, I'm appreciative of what he's done for the club. It was always very difficult saying that on open forums and Twitter and such, because undoubtedly there's going to be a sense of tribalism attached to it when people see that you're a Chelsea fan saying X, Y, and Z. There's obviously heated exchanges going on between obviously the Ukrainian and Russian governments, and obviously when I say heated, there's a bloody war. I think that's probably an easy way of saying it. But I think that it's just a very, very difficult situation to be in, and I think it could have been dealt with a lot better. I think that's just the case.
Louis, I don't know about you, but to me it felt like the government made the decision without thinking anything through. It felt like it's been such a, I don't really know what. Yeah, I mean, like they made but then they didn't know what to do after. They then had all these things that they then got to deal with after Roman's been sanctioned. But it's like they haven't thought about anything else. They've just gone, oh yeah, okay, let's do that. So let's freeze his assets, but then not think about everything else that's going to come after it.
Yeah. It seems to be the people that have bared the brunt of this is the fans. Do you see any way that they can have the fans in the stadium or more fans in the stadium and still abide by the sanctions?
Not really, because there's no loophole. I was thinking about this earlier today because someone made the point of, I hadn't even thought of it, going, why can we just not get our tickets for free in the meantime?
I was thinking that.
That's a really good point, but then it still costs money to print the tickets. So you can't even do that.
There's ways around that.
Pay everything, and it's just the admin side.
I'm sure there is a way. Like, this is a big football club we're talking about. I'm sure there is a way of allowing fans to go to games without Roman getting any of that money. I'm sure there is, and Middlesbrough obviously take an allocation. I'm talking obviously for the Middlesbrough game because that's the most recent thing that's come out. They're not selling any more tickets, but Middlesbrough need get some money from that. So do the FA, it being an FA Cup game. Surely there is a way of letting more fans in again, this feels like the one thing that, again, and a thing they haven't thought about is if they're sitting there saying they're actively trying to get fans in the stadiums, yet when we've asked Chelsea, rumoured, I don't know if this is true, I read somewhere today that Chelsea asked if they could give out tickets for free and the government said no. So it's like, well,
but why?
Well, why? We need reasoning. Like, it's all good and well saying no, but why can't the club do it? No one's getting any money. I suppose is that the problem? That then Middlesbrough can't get paid and the FA don't get their money.
I mean, literally, it's just a case of it's just asking this government to do anything. Again, I'm going to get political. Just don't trust them as far as I can throw them. We're working very hard to do this. We're doing this. We're doing that.
You're not.
Are you sure? Are you sure you're actually doing it?
Yeah, they made a big decision and they don't know what to do with it.
Mm.
Yeah.
There's probably other reasons why they've thrown the book at Chelsea and Roman Abramovich right now. And it probably has to do with them not going over to another country and getting involved themselves. So they want to be seen to be heard rather than actually doing something. And that's what it comes to me.
That's all it is. It's positive activism. It's all it is. I mean, look, there's no way in hell that I say there's no way in hell, but we never know with what's going on at the minute. There's not going to be any soldiers on the ground purely because it would start a third world war, and nobody wants that. So it's kind of, we're in the position of going, okay, well, they're going to do something. They're sanctioning all of the oligarchs that are based in the UK. Even Roman said he was selling. I mean, the whole thing which surprised me, I mean, in terms of making sure he didn't get the money, I don't understand why maybe there wasn't a pot set up by the government. All the money goes into there and then that gets sent to wherever. In the first place, Abramovich wasn't going to take any of the money from the sale. All the net spend is going to go into a fund to help relief. And obviously, it's vague in terms of whether it's going to Ukraine or not. I mean, he made it kind of clear in his second statement that's where it was going to go. So he wasn't getting any money. That now the government are going, oh, you can't do anything nice. So what we're going to do is we're going to take the money and pretend to send it. But it's actually going to go straight into our pocket for our cheese and wine parties. So it's kind of one of those where
cheese and wine parties.
Definitely not a paying member of the Labour Party. But outside of that, I think that it's, the whole thing is, it's just a mess.
It is. Even with the uncertainty growing around Chelsea at the moment, it doesn't seem to have affected the performances on the pitch. Do you think this siege mentality will help you going forward for the rest of the season, Olivia?
Yeah, I mean, I, for one, was so surprised. Not surprised because I suppose Norwich was the first game after this had all happened. And obviously one of the nicer fixtures of the Premier League season. But these footballers are human. And they said, it was there. They couldn't avoid talking about it. They were talking about it on the bus, in the dressing room, like it was there. And it's so easy for something like that to distract you. Like as a human, of course it would. So the fact that Chelsea came out on the pitch against Norwich and were absolutely brilliant, especially in the first half, should have won the game more comfortably, to be totally honest. I think that the performance against Newcastle was a little bit more reflective of the atmosphere at the club at the minute. It was a little bit flat. It felt like that the players were starting to get affected. I mean, it was the first time that 45,000 people had been in the stadium, and it was, I think everyone felt a little bit flat and just a little bit, maybe, I don't know if worried's the right word, but that just, it felt different. But again, we found a way to win. Kai Havertz stepped up when Chelsea really needed him, which he's been doing recently. And I'm so impressed with how this team has stuck together. And it feels like Tuchel, the players, Kai Havertz coming out and saying, I'll pay for travel. I don't care. Feels like there's a real team spirit, and it feels like the squad are really together at the minute. And that is exactly what Chelsea need right now. And they've got a couple of big games coming up this week. And I think the international break will come at a welcome time.
Yeah, definitely. I know what you mean. Louis, Thomas Tuchel came out and said, as long as the bus has fuels, we'll be competitive. Are those sorts of words you want to hear as a fan to sort of galvanise you?
I genuinely think this is probably, I'm going to remember what he said for the rest of my life. That's going to be something where you're going to say, 10 years time and go, hey, Olivia, do you remember when he said this? God, what was that all about? And he's like, I'm just with him driving like an old Ford minibus, like the ones you used at school. Like everyone was crowded into the back, some of each other like that on the way to Middlesbrough. It's like, I think what you said is like, he's an unbelievable coach, and he's an unbelievable person. He's an amalgamation, I'd say, of all our, in the Roman era, good previous coaches. I think he's got personality like Mourinho, but he's got the same calmness as Ancelotti. But he can play the really attractive football, but he can dig in and defend as well. There's a combination of all these great coaches that we've had within this guy, and he just brings it all together. And I think the way that he's conducted himself in what's been a really tough period. I like how he's been very open on how he thinks about things as well. For example, when he was asked about the war and all that sort of stuff, and he literally turns around and says,
for the millionth time.
Yeah, it's like I know nothing about it. I've never experienced war. Why ask me questions? Go ask it. Go. And then
he's very straight to the point, isn't he?
Yeah, he's German. I don't know what you're expecting.
I love it. I love it. So honest.
I actually, Louis, I echo everything you say there. I think he's gone up in every single. He couldn't have really gone up much further in my estimations. I think in everyone else's estimations outside of Chelsea, just the footballing world, I think he's gone up as a manager and as a man, and the way he's handled this situation with just pure class the whole way through. And after this, he's probably going to get asked another set of questions after the Lille game about what's happened with the Middlesbrough game and that statement today. And he'll deal with it in the best way possible. And now that Abramovich is not the owner of Chelsea, we don't know what's going to happen over these next few weeks. But this could be the end of the sacking managers as soon as it goes wrong. That cycle that has worked so well for Chelsea in the Abramovich era. This might be the manager. He might be the man that actually Chelsea, we see at Chelsea for a very long time, depending on the ownership. And I think I speak for most Chelsea fans when I would say I would absolutely love it if Thomas Tuchel was here for the amount that Klopp and Guardiola have spent at Liverpool and Manchester City in order to build something that can, win everything.
Yeah, no, I totally agree. I was just about to ask. We've Roman Abramovich there. Potentially, if Thomas Tuchel didn't win anything this season, would there be a worry that he would be out the exit door like the other ones had been? No?
Purely because of the landscape of what's happened to us this season, I don't think anyone would expect it. And also, the way I look at it is, can you name anyone who's a better fit right now who's readily available? Because I can't. I think the fact that, if you look at the Frank situation, obviously at the time, a lot of people were sitting there going, we don't want to go, want to sit build, whatever. But Thomas Tuchel was available. Yeah, I was as well. Yeah. Thomas Tuchel was available, and in hindsight, you go, okay, well, that kind of made sense. And then it's the same with, you look at it now, there's not anyone else out there who I'd rather have at Chelsea. And
this is an owner that got rid of, was it Mourinho, and brought in Avram Grant and got rid of Ancelotti and brought in Gus Hiddink. So he's not shy from making big decisions.
No, he wasn't and I wouldn't, would it have surprised me having won the Champions League if he won nothing this season? It probably wouldn't have surprised me. I'm not sure Abramovich would have done it. But I just, with Abramovich sort of making those decisions, if he can do that to Frank Lampard, of course he can do that to any single manager there is out there, regardless of options that are potentially available. I'm sure Roman Abramovich could have found someone if he'd really wanted to. I've really struggled. I was saying this earlier to one of my friends. I really struggled with the Lampard sacking, really badly. As in, not I was so gutted that it took me not just a few games, it took me a while to get on board with Tuchel. Mm-hmm. And I couldn't help it. People were like, oh, you've got to let go. And I'm like, but that's how I feel.
It's an emotion.
I've stopped myself from getting so attached to a manager. So involved emotionally. And I really struggled. And it did take me a while. But obviously, hindsight's a beautiful thing. Obviously, looking back, it was the right decision. Chelsea went on to win the Champions League. But these last 6 months, I struggled to get on board with Tuchel initially, but he is slowly becoming one of my favourite Chelsea managers. And, I think you know, you think of how other managers might have reacted had they been put in this situation. I mean, I'd have absolutely loved to see Jose in this situation. Oh my God, I think.
Oh wow!
But the way Thomas Tuchel has handled it, just the last few months, I hope he stays for a very long time.
Yeah. Louis, how do you think Jose would have handled this?
I've got whole this image in my head of him like talking about a chess game or something like that.
Yeah, with an army hat on, like Dad's army.
Yeah, the king goes here. So it's some stupid like that. I don't know. It's I think, yeah. I don't think he would have handled it as much. Decorum as Thomas Tuchel.
Definitely not. Louis, if Chelsea were sold to new owners, do you think we'll see a massive shift in transfer policy, or do you think it will be business as usual?
I couldn't tell you unless I know who the owners was. I think there's obviously three sort of main groups, isn't there, at the minute? You know, you've got the Saudis, where realistically it probably would be business as usual, if not even more business. Like Haaland, just for a casual Tuesday. And
just throw your morals over there, hey.
Well, that's something which seeing how moral I've been so earlier on.
Yeah, I know. Big backtracking there.
Personally, I think as much as he looks like he could be a good fit, I'm not sure how I feel about an American ownership, purely because of what we've seen with other Premier League clubs. And obviously Liverpool winning things and doing well, but the structure is a sell to buy sort of scenario, and it would have to be a massive culture change at Chelsea, i.e. sell everybody and start again, which is exactly what they were probably doing. And I mean, you're an Arsenal fan, you'd have to deal with Kroenke. That says everything. But for me, I mean, as much as it is very much a happy ending scenario, and I've not done as much reading yet. I need to do more reading into them. I'm a big fan of Nick Candy, purely because of the fan ownership model, which he wants to bring away as a fan on the board and what he's been saying. But obviously he's been saying all the right things, which is why I'm kind of sitting there going, as much as I'd like him, I'm not agree with it. So it's. I think that for me, I just couldn't answer that question unless you know who comes in.
Yeah.
How practical would it be to have a fan on the board, and who would that fan be, and how do you know that fan wouldn't shift into the same ways as what the board is right now? I mean, it's all right standing from the outside being a fan and thinking, yeah, if I was on there, I'd do this and say this and do this. But when you get on there, how do you know they're not going to shift into that sort of mindset that the board's already in?
Well, obviously, because I'm going to be the fan member on the board, it's going to make just obviously just sit there and just not take anything from anybody. So we'll be doing this. No, we want Mbappe with Holland. That's it. We can't afford it. I don't care. All right. Get worried lap out of time. But no, I don't want long throws. Get this. I mean, I think that probably going to have a fan who's already in the mentality of that situation. Let's be real. They're going to be somebody who obviously has the business acumen, also has the knowledge as a fan. I don't think it'd be someone you see from the supporters trust or someone from a fan team. I just don't think it's. It could be someone from the sports trust, because there is probably someone in the sports trust who has the knowledge from football and the knowledge from a business standpoint. But it's not. I don't think it's what people expect. I think when they say I hear a fan on the board is someone's been going for 30, 40 years and
walks in with a scarf and a Chelsea top on.
It's not like that. You're not going to have a Chelsea tie sitting there and saying that sort of stuff. It'll be someone who's probably already within the mindset and within the understanding from a business standpoint.
Yeah. But your hope is to get an owner who's going to continue the work that Roman has done over the past 20 plus years.
I mean, that would be great. But I think I don't know if Chelsea. I think it's unrealistic. I suppose it's really difficult to know until the new owners come in to know what they're going to be like. I think I read somewhere that the American, is it Bowley and Hans your this, I think his name is, so that That's a Swiss billionaire with the guy that owns the LA Dodgers, and from what I read, he puts a lot of money into the LA Dodgers. So I suppose that's almost a good sign, but then obviously it's a worry with American owners, as Louis said. So we've had the privilege of having, you know, so much success over the last 20 years with the way that Roman did it, and you know, so it's going to be, I think it will be a change. I think I don't think it's the manager thing. I think is big as well. You know, transfers, we might not be spending £100 million on a player or 2 or 3 players or whatever. I think the manager thing is key as well. Like I said earlier, I think this might be the change that not Chelsea need, because it's worked. It's worked for us, but it may be nice to have a bit more stability and you know, to know that a manager's going to be given more than a season to get things right. So I am looking forward to it, but it's a little bit scary at the same time.
Yeah, of course, but for the new owners, Louis, it wouldn't be sustainable to carry on the complete model that Roman's done, where you'd have to keep on changing managers. The new manager wants to bring in a new set of players. You've got to then get rid of those previous players. There has to be some shift somewhere.
I mean, Kieran, like we said earlier, we don't know. You know, we don't know who it is. I mean, if it is the Saudis who end up coming in, why not? You know, what was it, 2 billion, but they got a value of over 3 trillion or something like that.
It's ridiculous, isn't it?
Yeah, I know. It doesn't even register in my head.
That's as much as all the other Premier League owners combined. Like what?
I didn't even think about that. I might just ask him to tell me where am I doing me a favour for a few months? So, like, lads, can cover me. But look, I think I've been an advocate for the model to change for a little while, but you can see that over the past years, regardless, Roman hasn't been as aggressive. You know, he hasn't.
No, he hasn't.
More. But that's purely because the landscape of the Premier League's changed. You know, when he first came, it was Man United, Chelsea. Realistically, Arsenal were kind of slowly fading away at that point. Liverpool were just thereabouts, so hard, but not league titles. Now you've got 3, 4, 5 teams when all are fully fit that could go for a title charge. Now there's 6, 7 teams going for 4 places, whereas before it was okay. This is the top 4, then it's everybody else. It's not like that. So the fact that he's changed and adapted, that means the club will continue to change and adapt. I think the fact that over 20 years he's invested so much within the infrastructure, you know, realistically he's not actually had to pump that much money in at all over the past years, if any. I think the Romelu Lukaku, it was all completely self-funded, self-sufficient. You know, I've worked on Roman for years. So the fact that there's a structure there within the club, meaning that we can sort of just continue to financially develop, even if it's through loan signings or if it's through selling youth players, or if it's through winning competitions. You know, we've got the structure there already. So I don't think much will have to change. There will just be a case of the people come in and want to implement their own model, because obviously as soon as Roman guys, I think a lot of people seem to have forgotten this as well, Bruce Buck and Marino Grabaskaya are going to go as well. That's already been said that they're going to be on the way out. So, you know, whoever comes in to fill that void and sort of steps up to make the changes and adapt it into their own style, we'll have to see. But we can't ask that question because we don't know who it is. You know, there could be a 4th person at some point who could be like, I don't know, some Australian billionaire who's killed the Great Barrier Reef and sells shark teeth. I don't know. He steps in or something nuts. But we don't know. We don't know.
We don't. But with players such as Azpilicueta, Christensen, and Rudiger's contracts coming towards the end, to an end this summer, do you think the uncertainty over the ownership might be a hurdle in getting them to sign extensions, Olivia?
Yeah, I mean, I think it was reported in the last few days anyway that Andreas Christensen looked like he was going to Barcelona. Cesar Azpilicueta, I just read as well. There's like a clause in his contract where if he plays a certain amount of games this season, then it automatically triggers a year extension, which would be good for Chelsea. I think if the situation sorts itself out and Chelsea are able to keep Rudiger, because I think he's the one player out of those 3 that I think Chelsea should try and keep the most. I think as important as Azpilicueta has been over the years, I think Rudiger right now is more important to Chelsea's future, I would say. So if then it might be a case of Chelsea stepping by and letting Azpilicueta go to Barcelona or back to Spain if he wants to. But I think it will be an issue. I mean, you just never know what's going to happen now, with this team. And I can understand the players feeling a little bit, uncertain about things. And it feels like the situation could get sorted out. And I think, I've already seen owners come out or certain buyers and say, we want to tie down Rudiger to a new contract. That's the first thing we want to do. And I think that will be a priority as soon as this deal happens, is sitting down with Antonio Rudiger, potentially even Andreas Christensen, as Cesar Azpilicueta, and just seeing where they are and seeing if they're willing to want to stay, and if it's possible that they can be offered new contracts, etc. But I can understand why players would feel a little bit, would be a little bit uncertain about staying. But it feels like once this deal is done to sell Chelsea or for a new owner to buy him, then it might be a little bit more calm and settled and etc. But I think it will be quite difficult.
Yeah, Louis, how important is they get this ownership transfer done as soon as possible for the sanity of the fans?
It's not even the sanity of the fans, as of the fan member that's going to be on the board. I can speak for everybody because that's what I do. I think just purely from a football standpoint, it's just get it done. I've always said 1 days, and then there's potential for administration or this sort of stuff. I'm like, just get it done. Obviously, find the right person. Don't just sell it to the first person with the most money. I think that it's one thing that I'm glad the government has done is, rather than actually taking over the sale, which was what was apparently going to happen, they've left it with the range, just like get the right fit so it actually continues, and Roman can still say, okay, I'll sell it to this person, but he's not going to get any money, which he wasn't going to do anyway. We've covered that already. Just in case of getting it done, getting the contract signed with players that are potentially going to leave, even tying down ones that might not leave but are going to be more important long term. For me, it's just done now. I think, like I said, I'm at peace with the process. Just whatever will be. I think is kind of how I look at it. We're not going to have any control over the ownership and who comes in. So it's just a case of just whoever gets it. Just I think, like Olivia was saying, just make sure Rudiger gets the contract. I'm not too bothered about David and Christensen, to be honest. I think Azpilicueta has been a fantastic servant. He's done his time. He's got to Christensen, despite the fact he is so young, is also in the same boat. He's come through the academy. He's won what he can win. He wants to go on and try and go into that burning ship that is Barcelona. Then feel free.
Sliding.
It's just if we do that, you just sort of make sure that everything's in place to sign players, or if there's someone who's fitting the bill that can come through.
The good news is Thiago Silva already signed, so that's the most important thing.
How good has he been since he signed? I mean, after the first 2 games, there were people out there saying he's too old, he's past it, he's done.
I told you that would happen, and you're like, nah, he's not going to be that good. He's past it. I told you, I was right. I'm a genius.
Genuinely, he walks into every Premier League team.
He's a Rolls Royce.
I couldn't love that man anymore. Like this season especially, I've just had a newfound love for him. He's just so involved in the club, and his wife loves it. His kids love it. He's there after every game. He's standing with the fans. He's dancing along when we're singing his name, and he just loves it. And he is so good, so much better than I ever thought he was going to be. And I never really watched him at PSG over in Italy. Like I only really watched him in the Champions League, so I didn't really understand how good he was, to be perfectly honest. And then when I wish we had him 5 years earlier, because if he's this good at 37, imagine how good he would have been at 32 that I didn't even appreciate. I want him next year, sign him up for the year after that as well, because he doesn't even look like slowing down. Like he doesn't. I know he's going to be rested every game or every other game or whatever, which is fine. But he's just such a calming presence. I think across that back line, when he's there, whether he comes up against a physical player, a quick player, a skillful player, he's he just knows how to deal with every situation and is so calm. And he's
one thing you said earlier about Tuchel was about Silva was that his family involved. He's there every game. That was one thing that I noticed when Tuchel came in. He was getting a little bit of criticism, like it was that people were quite cynical about it, like it was false. The hugging of the players cheering in the stands, but that's continued. And as you said, it's a good thing. It's a good thing for the fans to see as well.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I think everyone was so quick, like you said earlier, everyone was so quick to jump on a bandwagon of, oh, he's too old, oh, he's just going to make mistakes because of those first couple of games. Mm-hmm. But I think he's been himself. You know, his wife's brilliant. You know, she's at every game. She's cheering along in the stands. Like it feels so into it. And yeah, like you say, it's been there from the moment he got to the club until now, and it will be the same until he left. And you know, as good as winning the Champions League was for Reece James, Mason Mount, Tammy Abraham, Callum Hudson-Odoi, you know, all those kids, nothing made me happier than watching Thiago Silva lift that trophy. For someone that's been in the game for so long, who's been at the top level for so long, but has never got over the line in that competition. Him and Olivier Giroud were the two I was so happy for, and N'Golo Kante as well. But Thiago Silva, just to watch him lift that trophy, to know that he's won the best thing you can win in football. Just love him. And we're going to go back to back, so I'll win a second as well.
All right. On that note, Chelsea winning back-to-back Champions Leagues. We'll see. Thank you very much for joining. Thank you very much for joining. Louis, what you try to stop my outro? This is what you're trying to
do. I'd get a tattoo on my arse of 3 Champions Leagues.
If we wanted this year, I think it would actually rattle. You know, it rattles every other fan anyway when Chelsea win the Champions League. But I think this year of all years, if Chelsea won the Champions League, I think it would go down as my favourite.
All right. Thank you for coming on tonight. Thank you for joining us tonight, Olivia.
Oh, thank you so much for having me. It's been great.
Of course. And thank you for joining us tonight, Louis.
Yeah, it's been all right.
All right, make sure you hit that like and subscribe button. Make sure you subscribe to KS1 TV and subscribe to Court Offside TV. Peace out, people. Stay safe and wash your hands.